Welcome to the podcast Lighting the Educational Flame, created and produced by educator and author Mark Hoberman, owner and director of Grade Success Tutoring. Mark will be joined by Susan Brender, CEO and host of The Susan Brender Show. The purpose of this program is to offer our listeners a variety of stories dealing with many interesting topics surrounding education. It is our hope that students and parents alike will benefit from the wide range of topics, including study skills, test prep, anti-bullying, sports, music, and more. We hope you enjoy our show, Lighting the Educational Flame.
Hello and welcome to the video podcast, Lighting the Educational Flame, brought to you by Grade Success Education on the NETV network. I am Mark Hoberman, and my co-host is Susan Brender. How you doing today, Susan?
Nice to be with you again. As I always tell you, Mark, you are an amazing man, and I'm so lucky for you to be my, what should I call you, my partner. I'd like to call you my partner.
Thank you for those nice compliments, even though it's in your contract to say that. I do appreciate that very much. We have a very special guest today. We have a therapist, Tremayne Thomas. Tremayne, welcome to Lighting the Educational Flame.
Oh, thank you. Thank you both for having me on. I feel so privileged to be able to share the spotlight with you two today.
Oh, it's great to have you, Tremayne. And, you know, let's jump right into it. A lot of today's conversation, or most of it, will be about the pandemic and how people are reacting, young people, old people, the parents of students, even teachers. So, Tremayne, first, can you tell our viewers a little bit about your background?
Yeah, I've been in psychology, over a little over 16 years or so. Started working at a group home, which kind of sparked my interest for psychology, working at a group home with kids who had some really bad issues with trauma. And so that kind of got me interested in psychology. I applied for a master's program at Nova. They accepted me, and I worked with that company for about 16 years. Actually, so I've been doing this for close to about 18 years now. So I worked for that company for about 16 years. And through that, I was able to get my master's degree, run the group home that I had initially started working at as an assistant. I ran the group home for 5 years. I worked at there for 10 years, and then started doing assessments and stuff like that. And eventually got over into private practice and what I'm doing now. So I went from community mental health to private practice, and I specialize in areas of trauma, anything that has to do with trauma, but I also work with a lot of teenagers with ADHD, depression, anxiety. So I love couples and couples therapy as well, marriage counseling. So I kind of try to do a little bit of everything.
Gotcha. Could you walk us through that? There's so much stuff that you do, but trauma means different things to different people. So as a therapist, when you say you help people with trauma, could you kind of define that for us?
Yeah, trauma could be something that a specific incident or a series of incidents that's taken place over a period of time that has caused the restructuring of a person's mind to remap something differently. So a lot of people end up having PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. So I work with a lot of these people, whether it's victim of sexual abuse, rape, molestation, things of that nature, people who have had bad car accidents, and have been traumatized from that, can't drive or don't want to drive anymore. And I also work with first responders, firefighters, paramedics, people who are out there who see trauma firsthand because they're usually the first person on the scene, and they see a lot of traumatic events that have happened over years, and now they're trying to wonder if they're okay because, they're starting to be desensitized to stuff and things don't bother them anymore. So I've worked with PBSO officers, correctional officers, and I've also worked with military veterans and stuff that are dealing with the aftermath of going over and seeing their friends or seeing their, comrades shot or injured or things of that nature. So when they come back here and the VA, and they don't feel like they can get enough at the VA, they will seek out some other therapeutic interventions, and a lot of times I would be one of the people that they end up finding. So I will work with them. So trauma can be anywhere where someone is stuck based on an incident that has happened in their lives that has caused the emotional regression in their lives, and I try to basically help them get unstuck and move forward.
Mark, I'd like to jump in for a second because this is a time that is really chaotic. It's a very terrible time. People are stuck in their homes and who knows what they're doing because they have nowhere to go. So is that a problem that also exists among the people that you see? Because here we are, you can't go to school, you can't do so many different things. I'd like to know that, Tremayne, because it's a terrible time.
Yeah, right now, these times with this pandemic what happened has also caused trauma for different segments of people who have lost their jobs and no longer can take care of their families. They struggle, and now they have an identity crisis, so to speak, where a guy who thinks that, being a man is being able to take care of his family and no longer been told that he has a job. Now his identity is threatened, so he doesn't kind of know what to do. And so trying to help them piece together their life, the kids that I see who have been isolated from their friends because they can't go to school or they can't go to these social events. So they're experiencing some minor trauma just because their social connection has been cut off. So, just trying to help them readjust and readapt to life as we know it now because of, what has happened, and trying to do things in the safest manner possible. But a lot of times, you can't tell a 5-year-old, 6-year-old what is safe. This is not safe. You can't just go do that. You can't go see grandmother, stuff, even things like that. Can't visit their grandparents who they have a close connection with, and, can't go because they may be carrying something. They're scared to come into the home because they don't want their grandparents to die. So I have some kids who are afraid that they're going to cause their elders to die, cause their grandparents to die if they go visit them. So they're kind of being traumatized because they feel like they'll be ultimately responsible for any issues if they were to come about. So even if the grandparents got sick from some other means, they will blame themselves because they have, expressed that to me, that I want to go, but I don't want to go. And if I was to get them sick, I couldn't live with myself, things of that nature. So these times are exacerbating a lot of underlying issues that people already have. I do feel for a lot of the domestic violence victims. So where can they go in these times? Where can they run to? If they're being quarantined and can't go anywhere and can't escape, they have nowhere to go. So they're left in a home with usually their perpetrator. They're left in a home with the person that's victimizing them. And so now they can't go, or these kids who can't get out of that home where school was a safe haven, school was a break for them to get out of that home that it's arguing all the time, fighting all the time. Now they can't go to those places and have those breaks. So what you're seeing is definitely an increase in anxiety across the board, an increase in depression across the board, just because of the isolation, partially because of these homes that are maladaptive and don't have great communication dynamics. And, you're just seeing a lot of things across the board exacerbate based on these current conditions.
Well, I think you touched on so many important things. I can tell you as an educator that I know that these kids have the schools a safe haven. It's not just physically. When you talk about think about the murder of George Floyd. Well, if that had happened a year or two ago, these kids would be just as disturbed about it as they are now. But the next day they could have gone into school. They could have had an assembly. You could have altered your teaching lesson for the day. That really did not exist at this time. And we're talking about teens in particular who this generation might initially have felt, oh, we have to stay home. It's okay. We text, we go online all the time anyway. Now they're seeing the value of person-to-person communication and having people accessible to them. So it's really a difficult time, which leads me to my question, asking if students are planning a big event or celebration, a party, a Sweet 16, a quinceañera, things of that nature. And they don't know if it's still going to happen or when it's going to happen. How can they learn to deal with that kind of uncertainty?
That's a great question. These kids, again, the expectation and what they're looking for, I think the parents have to do right now is start working on setting expectations for these kids within the realm of possibility, because, these are things that they've witnessed their cousins and things have done. So of course they want this exact same thing. I mean, I went through this with my daughter with her graduation. She graduated this year, and just not having the ceremony itself, I felt like she was robbed of something, not being able to do what I did, walk across the stage, have the parents celebrate. We just drove through the school, kind of music playing, grabbed the stuff, they stuck it in the car, gave it to them, we just went on our way. So I just feel that, these events, having them cancel, it does hurt. It does do a detriment to the kid. But I think with the parents, if they can be a little bit more proactive, maybe, take the venue somewhere else and maybe 3 or 4 people can be there, you know, at a time and do something. Just being creative with it, you know. I told our daughter, you know, we can wait, and we can take you somewhere else and we can graduate. We can have you walk across a high rise and we can do these individual things for you, still to celebrate you. So I think that the important thing is to still try to celebrate that person in whatever way they can. You know, you may not can grab a lot of people, but you can bring enough that can help, you know, be socially distant so that they can at least enjoy, you know, some semblance of a normal sense of um, um, passing of the torch, so to speak, you know, these milestones that these kids have in their lives. So, you know, I just try to tell parents to just think through some things, be proactive, let's troubleshoot, let's think through, and I get the kids involved in that too, because a lot of times these kids are very creative. I mean, I have 3-year-olds who can get on the internet and upload a video.
Right.
And so these kids today, with this TikTok and all that stuff, they can create a format for themselves that they still can celebrate themselves. So I try to tell them, you know, that this won't always be this way, but, you know, for right now, we have to work with what we got, and what we got, we still can succeed in it. We just have to have a positive outlook and a positive perspective. So what I try to do is push and promote healthiness, because there's enough negativity already going around. So we try to switch that. So for every dark cloud, we try to look for that pink cloud and that unicorn.
You know, as a psychologist, you have to deal with people with depression and anxiety. And I want to know what you do, how you do it, because it's such a difficult time, as I said before. So I'd like to understand, how do you prevent people, and it doesn't matter what age, from going into depression or anxiety?
One thing I do when I'm looking at people, when I'm dealing with people, what I try to do is I try to break down, because I know a lot of people want to get deep into their past and their history, and that can play a part. But what I try to look at is the family dynamic currently. What's the belief system that's being pushed from that family? Because just like you, Susan and Mark, I'm sure your parents raised you a certain way, and you took some of those things that you probably still do today.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about, we were in their house maybe 16 years, 17 years, 18 years, depending on when you left. But yet that belief system still carries you to this day. So we can see how much a belief system. So what I try to really look at is, if people are modeling depression and anxiety within the house itself, because no matter what I do, I have to send them back into that structure. So what I try to look at is the family systemically, you know, and what is being modeled. So then if I need to bring in the parents, I can say, look, this kid is exhibiting depression because you're modeling a lot of it through your things at home. You know, your glass half empty attitude and stuff like that. You're projecting it, and you know. So if you can't say anything positive, just don't say anything. At least don't model that for the kids. Same thing with anxiety. So what I try to do is take it to the belief system approach first. I look at the beliefs. I look at who's doing what the family layout is, and then I try to individually now segment that person to get them attached to something, because I find that when people feel that they are needed or liked or a part or affiliated with something, the likelihood of them to commit suicide, the likelihood of them to slip through the cracks lessens, because they feel like they're important. So what I try to do with them is make them know that they're individually important to me. If nobody else, to me, they're important to me, and I'm going to be there. And then conversely, I try to get them attached to something, whether it's a extracurricular activity, whether it's just some friends, teaching them how to do that, whether it's family members that they haven't seen. So I try to get them attached. And right now, it's either through Zoom or some other type of platform. If they can't go face to face, see them, I say, look, let's create little chat groups. Let's create these different things. Because why? If we can be connected to somebody, it gives us a sense of purpose. And I think we all want to be valued and have a sense of purpose. If we have a sense of belonging, I think what it can do is pull some people who would have isolated and withdrew themselves to now be looking forward to something. They have, you know, and so now if I can get some motivation there, I can start adding things to them. With the anxiety, it's similar stuff, because you deal with a lot of kids with social anxiety. So if I can break down what is contributing to that and kind of deal with the cognitive distortions, a lot of times when I show them stuff, I have kids that I walk across the street to where my practice was a Dunkin' Donuts. I've taken kids with social anxiety and walked them across there, made them order something, made them send it back, and show them that it's not as bad as they think, because they think that people are going to be staring at them, looking at them. I say the thing that they're going to stare is that I'm probably a 6'2" black guy, and you're a 5-foot white girl that's 14 or 15. They're going to be looking at that as,
right.
But I told her, when we walk through the door, people are going to turn their heads because that's what we do. But after a while, we become non-existent because the next person is going to walk through and they're going to look at them. And then I just have them see that. So what I try to do is a lot of exposure therapy, so to speak, and I expose them to the thing that they feel like they're apprehensive of. And then I show them, I'm like, what is going on now? And they're like, they're not really caring about that. I say, exactly. I say, because we've gotten to a place in our society that we really don't care about each other like we used to. I say, so they don't care about each other. And then I have them have the interaction with the workers there. And then I find that, I let them know that they're going to get your order right because, or they want to get it right because they need you out of here. They need you. You're just a number. You're holding up progress. You're holding up numbers. And so after it's done, now I say, hey, how was your system before you came in? Now, how is it now? And they like, that wasn't bad at all. And so what I do then, I pass off to the parents. Now take them to places and let them do orders, let them go pick up things, let them go inside. So what it does is kind of now I put it in the hands of the parent to help this progression continue, because they're going to be with them the rest of the week. Let them answer the phone, let them make calls, because our society has gotten away from the, like Mark was saying before, the person to person. We're so impersonal now. We can just text you and I don't have to really verbally talk to you at all throughout the course of the day, because this thing is going to system, so I try to get them back to the basics. So if I can get them back to the basics, if I can work on some things, if I can get them connected to people, and I think connection is the big thing, Susan, then I think it helps pull them out of certain places. And now I got other people helping them therapeutically throughout these processes. There's kids that I taught how to fish, and now they go fishing out with their friends. So now this is the thing that they can social distance and do, because I go out behind the office and I fish with them and I teach them, how to do this stuff. Now they've gotten their parents buying poles for them, and now they've created a thing. And now this can be used as a coping strategy, because the water, the nature, all this stuff they can use. So when they're feeling down, I'm like, go out and fish, and that's their time. So just trying to put things in their hands that's doable and workable for them to do.
Well, it's great stuff, but it sounds to me, you're really talking about empowerment and giving them the tools that they need. Right. So it's kind of now empowerment for connection, but that kind of connection is missing now in the school system for most kids. Some are hybrid, some are going to school all the time. If that's going to work out, we don't know. But how can students, teachers, and parents all together navigate anxiety over their school tasks in today's climates? You have the teachers that have their anxiety about this. Some are phenomenal teachers for 30 years, but they never saw Zoom before. They never saw the internet in this way before, some of them. The parents, usually the kids know more than they do. It makes us laugh, but I guarantee you that some of those 3-year-olds could talk to Susan and I and teach us how to upload things that we don't know how to upload.
That's for sure.
Yeah. So they've passed us by in that realm. But how do you help them all deal with this anxiety over the pandemic, how it relates to education?
Mark, I think you said something just then that was kind of, a key concept, is that, yes, we have people who are older who feel like this is, it's terrifying to try to come in and learn this new system to navigate around. But remember, we got young teachers too. We got young people. So I think bridging them and bringing them together, having them have groups where we have a couple of young people and a couple of older seasoned vets that we can transition and we can teach them how to use these platforms, teach them how. So I just think coming together, linking up through that, teaching these people how to use the virtual process so that they'll be a lot more confident going forward. Because yes, I know our older teachers can definitely be more at risk and stuff. So we want to try to safeguard them. We want to make sure that they're protected at the best way we can. So allowing them to not lose their job, but yet be able to be effective with their kids is one thing, because I think them being back with their kids is just as rewarded as the kids being back with them. Because I've worked in the school system for some years doing therapy at certain schools, and I understand the role that a teacher plays. And like you were alluding to before, when you go to school is so much more than just one thing for a lot of these kids. They get sometimes parenting. They get a connection with a teacher that they'll do more for that teacher than they would do for their own parent, because they feel that teacher really genuinely cares for them. So I think being able to help people learn these systems and navigate through these systems is a big thing. So I think, teachers at a specific school get together and then they train so to speak, those teachers that may not know as much. Or let's take it across school campuses, elementary school to elementary school, and just getting these people in groups so that they can have time. I have some teachers that I see. I have several teachers. And so what I do is I try to work with them on their individual stuff, but also getting with their peer group and doing things with them. For the kids, it's similar. Hey, let's create a peer group. Let's create a blog. Let's create something that we can do that we can continue to stay connected with each other. I know my son plays this Fortnite thing, but he plays with his peers. And so I was telling him, and I say to other young kids, but you can connect with that Xbox with not only video games, because I found out the Xbox has the ability to text and to whatever, to do call out and all that stuff. So I tell them, let's use that for other means. Let's group together. Let's get ourselves together on the platform where 4 of us is on a call. You got Snapchat, you got all these different things that they can do. And I have some kids create TikTok videos. I have some kids that create little small YouTube channels so that they can interact and connect. So I just think any way that they could connect helps them to stay relevant. It can help, the parents in the house understand how to do things. I have a lot of families going back to board games,
Yeah.
and I'm starting to see them eat together, something that we had gotten away from, because everybody's so busy. Everybody got all this stuff to do, right? So everybody's in their room doing their own separate thing. So now it's time, we're working on bringing and bridging people back together, and that just sense of community and connection. The other day I was down the street to my neighbors, and I was talking to them, and we were engaging. We were talking about things to do, and they were talking about these coconuts that they found, and they're from Indiana. They just moved, and they were like, "Man, I didn't know anything about that." And they had juiced up the coconut, so to speak, and they were like, "Oh my gosh," And so I just think getting back to the basics of how we were trained in our childhood, that it takes a village to raise a kid. If we get back to some of those basic things and put them even in the virtual realm, that it takes all of us to be on this to try to do something. So maybe I have some parents who are allowing who are friends, they have the other kids come over there. So now their kids and their friends' kids are almost like homeschooling together.
Right.
So that makes it almost as if we're in a classroom, but without being at school, but we still are communicating, we're doing it. So just trying to find out how many of those can do those type of things throughout the course, just to help where we can.
Right. Absolutely. Well, that's some people call that pods. Great Success Education. Also, I own the tutoring service as well, and we do those pods as well. And people who are careful can also group together either in person or online like this, and they feel like they're together. So some great advice. But let me ask you this. I am dumbfounded by how many people I see on the news and elsewhere not taking the pandemic seriously, and people going to college and they're trying to wash down the classrooms, and then these kids end up at a party, 40 people, 80 people, no masks. And that can be very difficult for people who are trying to be safe. So how can young people handle family and friends who aren't taking this pandemic seriously?
Well, I think when we're dealing with that, the thing is to lead by example. For me, like I know that I have clients that do that. They believe that it's a hoax. They believe all these different things. So what I do is, even in my office, I wear a mask. I encourage them to wear a mask. I mean, it's mandatory in my office. I keep masks around just in case, but what I try to do myself is just, even with my family, is I go in the house, I come in, I spray myself, I change clothes. I try to show a regiment because, I tell them, if nobody is protect, I'm gonna protect you. So what I try to do is make it less about the other person so that they don't get offended. I always try to make it like, hey, I'm just doing this for your safety. I'm doing this so I can safeguard you. So I think it disarms people when they think that you're caring about them, as opposed to that you're trying to make them do something that they don't want to do, and I just think these younger people pushing the message, because a lot of times, again, these younger people are the ones that feel like they're impervious to anything, that they're, invincible and stuff like that. But I had a kid the other day call me, and, he asked me, he didn't call me. He told his mom to text me and let him know that he had been in the hospital to COVID-related stuff. And he wanted me to pray for him. You know, that
Oh,
was his message to
Mm.
me. And
right.
he said, I know I was in your office and I just wanted you to know. And he's like 9 years old. You know, I was in your
Wow.
office and I just want you to know that I got sick. And, you know, and mom said, none of us have tested positive. So, but he just wanted me to inform you personally that, you know, he wanted you to pray for me. You know, so I think having these younger people talk to these other younger people and say, hey, look, it happened to me, you know. So I think the message gets conveyed better when when they're talking to their peer group, because
Definitely,
they
definitely.
they hear it better, just like our kids thought they know way more than us, or their peers know more than us. You know, I know at least my kids did. My daughter was telling me about her 13-year-old friend who knew way more than I knew, you know,
Okay.
about life, and I'm like, wow, that's amazing, you know. And so they tend to listen to each other. So I think when we're trying to say it, when we're talking down to the next generation, they feel that we're saying it out of, you know, you're just trying to kind of rule us. But I think when we can get them talking to each other at their various levels, you know, my age group with my age group, you know, my kids' age group with their age group, and so on and so forth, that the message get conveyed a lot better. And I just think if we do it by example, if we take a stand, just like you see the protesting with all this other stuff, if we can really take a stand about how we want to get our country back to where we can do stuff, you know, where if we really want to move forward, is it worth it just doing what we need to do right now to be able to go out and do things in December, or, you know, letting this thing linger until March?
Tremayne, the issue for me is that after this, well, during this pandemic, family first. Don't you think that before the pandemic, people were so busy, they were going about their own, they were leaving, latchkey kids alone. But today, because of this pandemic, there is a brighter side. And the side that I'm talking about is family first. And with a family, you could do all kinds of creative things. I mean, you could paint, you could draw, you can do all kinds of things. And don't you think that that kind of gives us a chance to really see what we can do for our kids,
Yeah, I
right?
think that this pandemic gave us all a wake up call, but it gave us a chance to hit a reset button, because a lot of times we're on that day-to-day grind, and, you know, money becomes the focus, or my success becomes the focus, and all these things become the focus at the behest of our kids, you know. um, I talk to a lot of especially men, because I know men are a lot of times, for me in my experience, validates the kids a lot of times. Having dad there sometimes validate. But I tell the dads though, but if you're out hustling, you can come home every day. But if you're not engaging, then your existence is still, you know, not felt. You're not felt. So I think this gave a lot of people a chance to reset and do things. And now they're finding out that, yes, they can do stuff with their family. And family is stronger now, that the bond can be that everybody's playing a specific role and specific part. So what I'm seeing now, I'm hearing from either, you know, some other people, they're not sending their kids back to school because they enjoy having them home now and working with them. I've seen a couple of parents like, look, I got 7 kids, but all 7 are going to be home, and I enjoy having them home where I can teach them and have my hands on them, you know, and they can enjoy each other. So what they're starting to do is really put down that fighting that the infighting that they used to do, and kind of learn how to get along. Why? Because we're all needed now. We need each other now. So now even bridging blended families and other aspects, that my in-laws and things of that nature just running together. Like my in-laws, they live on the same street as me, and, you know, and now with these supplies and stuff like that, making sure that they're supplied, and so that causes me to interact with them more, and for them to engage with me more. So yes, Susan, like you said, family first. Now they're seeing that the family is really the strongest unit, strongest entity we have. If we get together, and it can strike a mighty blow in any kind of system, educational, financial, when the family is compacted, and they can lift and uplift the system once they are all, you know, looking at it from a team standpoint. And that's kind of one of the things I preach when I talk about family systems. And I tell each one, you're each individually important. No one is more important than the other, but you all play roles in the family. And if we can just stay in our lanes and do what we need to do, the family will flow and function very well. I mean, we're going to have some issues because of personalities, but objectively we can get things done that we need to get done without any problems.
Well, Susan brings up a good point, and Your response is well taken because it's kind of come full circle. I remember when both my sons were at college, and then, oh, we haven't seen them, and they came home. By the second load of laundry, we were like, when are you leaving? and and then now with the pandemic, it's a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and they're very safe. So we know we can be with them. And now it's like you really treasure that time more. I know a lot about what certain therapists deal with is there is a problem between what we can control and what we can't control. So I want to know, what can you tell our viewers who have a feeling of anxiety when they go into a public place, that they're doing the right things, they're wearing the masks, but they need to visit a grocery store or even an outdoor restaurant, and they see that other things aren't being done in a careful manner. How do you help people deal with the anxiety when it's the actions of others that are impeding upon their safety and health and well-being?
Right. And again, with anxiety, a lot of that forges into that unpredictability or not being able to control certain things. So what I try to tell them to do is outline what they need to do and have as much control as possible. You know, how would they normally do stuff in the store? And I say, so we may have to we might have to modify how you would normally do things. So could we order things and have them picked up? Could we do certain other things? Can we have them delivered to you if that's you know the case, or can we have a specific schedule of knowing that you know certain people are in stores at certain hours? Because I know at one point they were letting a certain age group in the stores at certain hours. Yes. They were trying to make sure that they were protecting certain people. So can we have a list together as opposed to just going in there and doing your regular walking around and just seeing what's available? Just having your list of items that you need to get so you can get in and get out as quickly as possible. So putting things that you can control within the confines of your control so that you can navigate a lot easier. But I think because a lot of stuff is online or you can pull up to curbside, I tell them to try to use that as much as possible. You know, pull up to the curbside, because now you only have to deal with that one person that's coming out, and usually that one person has a mask on or have gloves on and things of that nature. So I try to encourage them to use what's available for them that makes it easier for them, that they're not so apprehensive. But when they have to go in certain places to kind of time themselves, or you know, take you know, since you do maybe have some time, take stock, do like you would do for a stakeout or something. Go and just see and observe busier time frames, and then say, okay, this looks like this would be a safer time for me to go. Because I found out going to Publix and different places like that there were definitely better times for me to go in Costco than it was other times. And I told my wife I got in there and got all the items I needed to get within 20 minutes and was out of there. And she was like, how did you do that? Because I stood in line and waited. I said, well, I went at this particular time frame. So just doing some investigative work, I guess, due diligence, and looking at different things of where you can control what you control, and then use what the availability of the tools that are being provided for us in those moments.
Excellent stuff. Excellent information. And interesting. I lived in Florida for 2 years, so I know the name Publix. I actually worked, I don't know if they have it anymore. I worked in Winn-Dixie.
Yeah, they still got it. They're still
probably
kicking.
In 1978. Yeah, they're still kicking, and I'm still kicking.
They're pushing it. They're falling off, but you still got a couple.
Yeah, it all sounds like me too. I'm pushing and kicking, and I'm falling off. But yeah, I think you have so much value and really are so calming, and your expertise is so helpful. How can our viewers learn more about you and what you do?
They can go to Psychology Today. They can just Google my name, Tremayne Thomas. My Psychology Today profile will come up, and it will link them to whatever I'm on, whether it's a website, or they can go to Safe Harbor. That's the name of my business, safeharbor.solution at comcast.net, or they can go to safeharborsolution.com, and they can find me there. But if they just Google my name, and my Psychology Today profile should pop up. And if they feel that, you know, I can help them, I'll be more than happy to do so.
Outstanding. Susan, any final thoughts?
Well, I think that this person, Tremayne, has offered our audience a lot of information and education, and people have to listen to this, Mark. Absolutely. Because he's an amazing man who's told the audience how they can be more I want to say more in tune with what's going on. Okay. So thank you. I want to thank you for giving us all this information, Tremayne.
I thank you for finding me, Susan, and allowing me to be a part of your platform. It's very appreciative, and it means a lot to me that you would think so much to allow me to come on, and because I know you could have had several people on, but
It's
really
tremendous information, tremendous help and advice. And so, Tremayne, Susan and I can't thank you enough for joining us today and sharing your incredible story, wisdom, expertise with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Thank you.
Viewers, remember to reach out to us on social media. Look for Great Success on Facebook and Twitter. We'd love to hear from you. You can also find me, Mark Hoberman, on LinkedIn. Again, Tremayne Thomas, thanks for being with us. Susan, as always, thank you. And viewers, don't forget to tune in to our next podcast. This is Mark Hoberman, thanking you for watching the podcast, Lighting the Educational Flame, on the Great Success Education channel on NETV. Have a great day, and we hope to see you soon. Take care. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Lighting the Educational Flame with Mark Hoberman. To contact Mark, email him at info@gradesuccess.com.